Attention, type 2 diabetics. High blood sugar got you down? As a type 2 diabetic myself, I know how hard it is to control blood sugar levels even with medications. Food low on the glycemic index and load scales, although helpful, is rarely effective in keeping those glucose levels down. There are several reasons for that. Maybe you've realized, like I once did, your medication dosage requirements seem to just increase over time. I'm sorry to have to tell you, this more than likely means your type 2 diabetes is getting worse. It is a sign that you're not attacking your diabetes at the root level. Medication addresses high blood sugar levels, but they don't address the underlying cause of type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance. Standard medical treatments are designed this way. This is not to say they don't have a place in treatment. They do. But in effect, they perpetuate a cycle that gets progressively worse. This is no surprise once you understand why. On the other hand, maybe you are one of those people that achieve great blood sugar levels, normal even, yet you find yourself experiencing wild blood sugar swings. This makes you reach for the nearest snack, good or bad. I know from experience this is a perfect example of a self-perpetuating vicious cycle. Extreme blood sugar lows, followed by extreme sugar highs. There's something definitely wrong with that roller coaster, wouldn't you say? Having tried one dietary approach after another, eventually you find yourself at square one feeling deflated and defeated. You and I are part of the 415 million diagnosed diabetics worldwide. By 2040, that number will increase to 642 million. Every 6 seconds, a person dies from diabetes. And the sad truth is, a large percentage of diabetics walk around undiagnosed. I wish those numbers were made up, but they're not. They've been documented in the International Diabetes Federation's IDF Diabetes Atlas 7th edition for 2015. Go ahead and Google it. So, is it genetics? Is there something in the air or water supply? Or is it solely our modern diets? Whatever the case may be, friend, it's not your fault. How type 2 diabetes develops is a multi-factor synergy that culminates into the various compounding complications that accelerate our demise. The sad thing is that it no longer takes several decades to happen. My teenage daughter Angie developed type 2 diabetes at age 14. She is just one of an alarming number of cases in this age group that is growing every single year. Is a typical outcome that diabetics experience have to be the same for my daughter or yours? Absolutely not. But it can be if you continue doing things the same way you always have. Allow me to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Jose Bucio. I am 43 years old and a type 2 diabetic. I was first diagnosed in the year 2000. But looking back now, I realized I had the symptoms for at least 5 years prior to then. And I don't even know for how long I was pre-diabetic before that. You see, the path to type 2 diabetes is a long one. Well, it used to be. Recall my 14-year-old daughter. But one thing is certain. I did not become type 2 diabetic overnight. I come from a long line of diabetic relatives, young and old, living and dead, and mostly type 2s, and definitely all at the mercy of this metabolic disorder. Sadly, my own father succumbed to diabetes complications in 2006. He is the catalyst of what you have before you today. Helplessly watching him deteriorate over the years, and especially the last 2 months of his life in the hospital, ignited a fire under me to not let the same fate have its way with me. You see, by this time I'd been type 2 diabetic for 6 years and on 3 daily insulin shots. All that insulin is not an indicator of good type 2 diabetes management, by the way. Among many other things, I didn't know that then, but eventually I understood why that was true. To appreciate how I got here, let me start off by giving you just a tiny bit of my history stemming from my childhood. Hopefully I won't bore you, but I'll make it quick. Promise. I developed a passion for technology at an early age. In the early 1980s, my parents bought me a Commodore VIC-20 personal computer. My parents were immigrants of very modest means, so this was a huge deal. Back then, magazines had basic programs listed in the back pages. BASIC was a computer programming language. I'd sit for hours behind a black and white TV, typing away at VIC word for word and every single character exactly the way they were printed in the magazine in order to see what those programs did. But there was one big problem. My parents couldn't afford to buy me the required cassette deck to save my progress. A computer cassette deck was the equivalent of a hard drive today. Without it, the computer was close to useless. Nonetheless, I would type as much as I could in one sitting. Along the way, I'd test the code to see the output as well as to figure out how it worked. From that humble beginning, along with formal education, I learned to think, research, troubleshoot, dissect, reverse engineer, and resolve problems. It led to my 20-year career in information technology doing much the same thing. These skills allow me to face type 2 diabetes in the eye and delve deep into its secrets to find answers. Fast forward to 2006. Fueled by my father's death and the writing on the wall, I can now see clearly for myself. I embarked on a personal quest. Through 10 years of on and off research and self-experimentation, I've pieced together hundreds of little pieces of huge information puzzle that is the world of type 2 diabetes. No, I don't have all the answers, but I do have enough to realize that what we're taught and instructed to do is no way to break the cycle we're stuck in. It's a cycle that keeps us eating the very same foods that keep us dependent on medication, because these same foods keep our blood sugar elevated, but that's okay because medication will lower our blood sugar back down. At best, the standard medical treatments work for a limited amount of time. I know, I've lived it. And if I were a betting man, which I'm not, I'd put money on you having had a similar experience. We are trapped in a constant back and forth between eating incorrectly and the medications to counterbalance the effects. I can go on and on about this aspect of type 2 diabetes treatment. But the point is, I've learned firsthand this is not effective to say the least. Keep eating wrong and too frequently and you will never reduce the excessive levels of insulin floating around in your body. That, sir or madam, is the true source of type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance. High blood sugars are nothing more than a symptom. But the first step to healing and reversing the effects of insulin resistance is lowering blood sugar levels. To do that, you have to manipulate your macronutrients a certain way. Doing this minimizes the introduction of unnecessary blood sugar. And let me assure you, if you get nothing else from this, know this. It's not how the standard medical treatment protocols instruct you how to eat. I've learned that the hard way. Also, you can't exercise or medicate your way out of high blood sugars while eating in a manner that is keeping you diabetic. To put this into perspective, I maintain normal blood sugar levels without medications. I've done this for 5 years now. It was a rocky road at first, but once I started to figure it out, I went from 345 to 109 milligrams per deciliter in just 8 days. I am now able to maintain them in the low 100s and a lot of times even lower than that. Do I have bad days? Of course, but only when I let my guard down. But the big question is, can you achieve similar results? Absolutely. Although simple, the strategies I've used over the years require a bit more in-depth analysis to understand why you should implement them. Not only that, but you need to know how to implement them. I want you to avoid all the guesswork I went through. For that reason, I wrote Conquer Diabetes, the 5 Hours of Type 2 Diabetes Reversal, to guide you and unravel what you need to know. You see, what is astounding is the incorrect ratio of macronutrients that standard diabetes diets require. That ratio is completely upside down and just plain wrong. I know that to be true, like I know the sun rises to the east. If your blood sugar is too high overall, whether you're on medications or not, then your macronutrient ratios are off. And I would also bet on you eating too frequently. Part of the reason for that is your hunger hormones aren't working the way they were designed to. Another truth, as diabetics, we are typically told to eat like non-diabetics by eating and avoiding this and that and to have several meals per day. There's only one problem. It's a conflict I call us versus them. Allow me to explain. Remember those 415 million diabetics worldwide? Well, this leaves just over 7 billion people who aren't diabetic. Now, why would you eat like they can? You can, but should you? And that answer is no. They're not diabetic. Their bodies can properly put away all those nutrients they consume. Diabetics can't. Hence the high blood sugar levels. Again, us versus them. We're special. They're special too, but we're different with special needs. And that is what we need to do, meet those needs. And how will we do that, you say? With the 5 Hours of Type 2 Diabetes Reversal. Imagine getting rid of the pain, prickly, and burning sensations from your extremities. I don't have to imagine. It's already a part of my reality. I already had neuropathic symptoms in my lower legs and feet. Once I learned how to normalize my blood sugar levels, those symptoms disappeared. Sure, those symptoms can reappear, but only when I get sloppy with my food choices over a few days. This just gives me another reason to stay on track. But back to you. Imagine not being lethargic after meals. Imagine having an improved attitude and outlook. Yes, those things are affected as well by diabetes. Tired of the constant voracious hunger? Always thinking about the next meal even though you just ate? Tell me about it. Imagine being satisfied with smaller portions and even forgetting to eat at times. Imagine seeing the results of all that on your glucose meter. The 5 R's of type 2 diabetes reversal is a simple multi-step template or framework that I developed to teach any type 2 diabetic how to lower the blood sugar levels and begin the process that allows insulin sensitivity to take hold. But what does this really mean for you? Aside from your insulin sensitivity getting progressively better, you will sleep better, increase mental clarity, reduce the risk of diabetes complications, burn stored fat, lower your hemoglobin A1C levels, improve the dawn phenomenon effect, regain much needed energy, drastically improve neuropathy, increased blood flow, and much more. That's an impressive list, isn't it? And I guarantee you it works if you work it. I provide you with the why and the how, and you do the work. I teach you how to fish, and you go fish for yourself if you will. This means it's entirely up to you, should you choose to do so. You'd be surprised at how fast you will experience success when you do things differently and persistently. But I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want to draw your attention to a particular 2004 Diabetes Journal research paper titled 5 Stages of Evolving B-Cell Dysfunction During Progression to Diabetes. Researchers studied characteristics of insulin production in the pancreas along the path of progression to type 2 diabetes. They describe how those changes look like, but most importantly, they concluded there are clearly defined states along that progression. 5 stages of progression, to be exact. Not only that, they state that you can, in fact, move back and forth between these stages. This study is just one example of documented proof you can reverse symptoms of type 2 diabetes. It is entirely possible, as long as you have the right information. Here's some of what you will learn in Conquer Diabetes, the 5 R's of type 2 diabetes reversal. How all type 2 diabetes complications arise from inflammation and ages or advanced glycation end products. Learn what is the true essence and source of type 2 diabetes development. It's not high blood sugar, which is only a symptom. How the resistance of the hormone leptin, which controls our hunger, also plays a role in type 2 diabetes. Discover how not only are we resistant to insulin for energy production, but insulin also affects how we accumulate fat stores or weight gain, and eventually even that becomes impaired. Learn why medications, including insulin, cannot and do not fix the source of type 2 diabetes. Again, insulin resistance. Learn what other biological hormones play a role in us being sick and what to do about it. Learn which types of reportedly healthy foods are harmful to us and create unnecessary glycemic loads and should be removed. Find out why resistance exercise improves insulin sensitivity. Why it is important to supplement with cellular health in mind. You'll find information on supplements that promote healthy cell metabolism and energy creation in our bodies. And no, I am not going to try and sell you any expensive pills. In fact, I'm not going to try and sell you anything. Learn which minerals diabetics are severely deficient in and should be remedied. I define and demonstrate how after time you do begin to restore insulin sensitivity. Learn how restoring insulin sensitivity is more than just having low blood sugar. It's about your body's reaction after you eat. I'll provide a cheat sheet of the 5 R's meant to guide you as a quick start guide. All this for $7. That's right, $7. And why only $7? Because this life-saving information should not cost you an arm and a leg like it has countless others like my own father. But as I say, the truth is in the pudding. So to have your own pudding and know the truth, you have to take that first step. Remember, nothing works if you don't work it. For the price of a hamburger, without a fries and drink, I might add, or 2 fancy coffee drinks at astronomical bucks, you can get started immediately. Let your next meal be one that supports you, not your diabetes. To make this completely risk-free, I will give you a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you apply all the information I provide and your blood sugar does not come down like a house of cards, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. But if you're still unhappy with my product, send me a copy of your receipt and I will promptly refund your money. No questions asked. How is that for zero risk? What do you have to lose? Besides blood sugar, I mean.